making season 4 darker and denser than its predecessors. What do you think?
I agree. This was definitely the most, other than season 1, for me, it was the most I felt anxious, and I don't love when there's shows or movies that makes me on the edge of my seat. I don't love that. But in this one, definitely had me feeling like that the whole time.
I saw you trying to Google endings.
I was.
I saw the phone in the corner of my eye, like the glow of the light of the phone, and I remember having that anxiety for you because you don't know what to expect.
Exactly like that. I spent the whole day when it came out Friday trying to avoid spoilers. And then once I start watching the ending part 2, I was looking for the spoilers, so I knew what was going to happen.
So chapter 8, so season 4, the last 2 episodes, chapter 8 was Papa, chapter 9, the piggyback, and both were really sobering. Nancy and chapter 8 with Papa had sobering visions, and Elle passes an important task back in Hawkins. The gang gathers and supplies prepares for battles.
Overall, did you think season 4 lived up to the hype?
It did. I Here, it's a little darker than the season prior. I really, really love season 3, even though there was some sadness happening in season 3. It still had that fun 80s neon colored hype and vibe that I really can watch over and over again. Season 4 turned to a lot darker, deeper, a lot of kind of mind play happening and psychology. That to me, it was almost a little disturbing because it was deep.
Yeah, I think, well, according to Rotten Tomatoes, this season has the lowest rating of all 4 seasons. And
because it's different, it's just a little more
listen,
dark.
Low expectations. We talk about that all the time, right? I think people's expectations for season 4 were very high, and it was hard to live up to that. Okay. The only thing I didn't enjoy about season 4 was the fact that there was a lot of plots going on at the same time, and they were all spread out all over the place the whole season. There was never a point until the very last one, spoiler alert, if you haven't watched it yet, until the very end where they kind of all came together.
Yeah, you kind of had to take a minute to go, all right, we're back in Russia, or we're, back in California, and really kind of set your mind and get back to where you get your surroundings setted.
Right. What did you think about the length of these shows?
The length was awesome.
I agree. I love the length. I thought it was great. I love longer form shows, and it gives you, especially when they come out in the format in which Netflix releases them, which is kind of all at once, except for the last 2. It gives you a chance to binge watch, but not be able to binge watch them all at one time. And I like that.
I agree. But back to the Rotten Tomato thing, you know how you said it was the lowest? It's still 89%.
I know. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it was the lowest.
Okay.
And also, Netflix crashed. I'm going to bring up an article here. When it came out and when it was released, Netflix actually crashed. So people were trying to get on to watch Stranger Things when it was released at midnight, and Netflix went down.
Yeah, it's been confirmed. That was the reason.
That's how popular this show is.
We need more satellites in space.
That's true. I mean, I didn't watch it. We didn't watch it at midnight. We kind of waited till Friday night, like it would be a movie for us, and then we watched it. But I thought it was a fantastic thing.
I was trying so hard to stay away from anything on social media just so that I could just go into it with just clarity and not really have any expectations.
I agree. So there's 2 things that happen. One, if you're watching this, there's going to be a spoiler ahead, so be aware. There's one theory I want to talk about, and then there's one thing that actually happened in the show, and we're going to talk about that right now. Okay. So towards the end of the show, spoiler alert ahead, Max confronts Vecna in her trance, right? And then she kind of dies, and then Elle brings her back to life.
Weird. Do you think kind of dies? What does that
mean? She dies for a minute. They say that. They confirm it on the show. Elle brings her back to life, but then at the end of the episode, she's in a coma. What do you think happens to Max?
First of all, I didn't even realize that is pretty powerful for 11 to be able to bring someone back from the dead like that.
Well, I'm going to talk about that in the next slide.
Or at least, I mean, she had no heartbeat, right? And she brought her back. So regardless of whether I think she's truly dead. So what was interesting was at the end, 11 went to the hospital where Max was and being treated, and Max was in a coma. And then when 11, I think, tried to read her thoughts, it was complete darkness.
Right. So they confirm in the end of the show, they say she was dead for her heart stopped beating for 1 full minute. That's how Vecna was able to get the 4th death to open up the gate inside of Hawkins.
Right. So she's dead, but she's back. I'm so confused.
So she's in a coma at the end of the season 4.
So
Elle
Vecna,
goes into her thoughts. There's nothing there.
yeah, which is freaky.
So we don't really know what's going to end up happening with her until season 5, which is a little bit scary.
Yeah,
There's a
little
lot of
bit.
theories going around the internet. I don't know if I want to get into all of them, but there are a lot of theories going around the internet about what happens to Max and how it's related.
Okay.
But Kate Bush loves it.
Life-saving Kate Bush music helped Max the entire episode, entire season, right?
For sure.
And it's become very popular. Our kids love the music. It's just weird. I don't remember Kate Bush when I was growing up. I don't remember it in the 80s. Maybe it was a little ahead of my time. Maybe I was a little too young.
Well, there was a meme going around that says it was a meme from Michael Jackson from Back to the Future. And they're talking about Kate Bush, and he gives them the guitar, and he's like, you know what? You guys, this may be a little bit ahead of your time, but your kids are going to love it.
Michael J. Fox, you mean?
Michael J. Fox, yeah. What did I
was
say?
confused when you said Michael Jackson.
No, Michael
I was
J.
like,
Fox,
wait,
sorry.
what did I miss?
I got my Michaels mixed up.
Which is like my two favorites, right?
Right.
Mixing Back to the Future with Michael J. Fox and Stranger Things. So perfect. Yeah, they were definitely not ready for that at the time. But as sad as I am for Max, which by the way, Sadie Sink is one of my all-time favorite actresses. Like she's so young and she's exceeded the bar with her skills and just her entire just demeanor this season was so different than what we're used to because she's just like this rough kind of no nonsense girl in season 2 and 3 that she's got, and you can throw anything at her and she's good with it. And this season she's very clearly upset about the death of her stepbrother and she's just going through so much and she portrayed that fully because even from the looks of it, I remember the first day we saw her on the first episode, I said, wow, she looks different. She looks really depressed.
Right.
It was true. So anyway, that I really, really hope that there's somehow a comeback because I don't know if I can continue with season 5 without her.
Yeah, so this is the theory right here. This could mean that when Max goes into a coma, that Elle would need to go in to find her in her body. Max is actually dead, and though her body remains, her spirit is gone. Max could also become a vessel for Vecna, given she was his final victim. Or perhaps Eleven's intervention in her death will lead Max to getting powers from her. There are endless possibilities, which is fantastic because when there are endless possibilities, that makes for a great show and a great season for 5, which is said to be the last one.
That is the coolest, I think, one. I want to go with the last one where Max has powers from 11. That would be, to me, the best.
Well, all right, so let's take that into consideration for this next theory that's out there.
There's another one.
There's another theory that's a Whopper.
Okay.
Not the kind of that you get from Burger King.
Okay.
But a real Whopper here. It says there's a theory going around the internet.
Really corny.
Was it?
Yeah,
okay.
Sorry.
Well, there's a theory going around the internet that one is actually Eleven's father.
Your father.
And if you look at the timeline, like if this, I'm not going to go into it now because it's on TikTok, which I don't know if you can believe TikTok. But if you go onto this video, and we'll link it up in the below, it goes into this theory that one is Eleven's father, and it goes into the timeline of when one went to the facility at Hawkins and when Eleven's confirmed mom was at the facility in Hawkins. And the reason it says that is there's two things that goes on here. One, they were out there at the same time, right? Mm-hmm. If you think about it, at the end of the episode where one kind of kills everybody, he hides 11 in the closet and doesn't hurt her at all. He wants her to go with him and kind of take over the world, both worlds. And then he also says he sees something in her that reminds him of him when he was younger.
Interesting.
So the timelines align. The fact that he really liked her more than everybody else and tried to help her more than everybody else, and that their powers are very similar, seems to make this theory kind of a theory that could live up to, the theories of the internet.
I don't know if I like it. I don't really know if I liked or want to know who's related to who. Like, I don't know.
Well, they don't talk about who. They talk about who Eleven's mom is a lot, but they never mention who her father is.
That's true. That is true. Well,
right?
Isn't it assumed that Dr. Brenner is the dad?
Well, I don't know. Like, they never say it. They say his papa, and he cares for all the kids equally, but he never says, okay, I'm your father.
I'm your father.
It never happens.
Can we talk about the ending with Dr. Brenner and how he passed away and how there was like this weird twist for a minute? You're like, oh, wait, did 11, Dr. Brenner and Papa patch things up? Wait, no, because he basically held her as prisoner all those years that she didn't want. And then at the end, she left him on the desert. He said, "Please tell me you understand." And she didn't answer him. And I was so proud of her.
I love the fact that throughout this whole thing,
Yeah.
other than the main characters, right? You never really know who's the real villain, and sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. Even the doctor that was with the other doctor who was chained up at the end, you never know if he was really good or if he was pretending to be good.
So you're talking about Dr. Owens.
Yes, Dr. Owens. You never really know if he was good or if he was just kind of pretending to be good.
Gotcha. Well, Paul Reiser has this kind of demeanor when he says his lines too. It can go either way.
Yeah.
He's a really great performer, and I think that's why he was cast in this role. Like, I think he was perfect for this particular role.
So overall, I do think, though, if I say there's one flaw, there was a few episodes where it kind of dragged out a little bit. Okay. I think they could have tightened them up a little bit. So I agree. This is I don't think this was the best season, but I don't think it was the worst.
It's a show. It's not a movie.
Yeah, but they could have tightened it up.
Okay.
They could have tightened it up in a few spots where they could have made that 2.5-hour ending, maybe 2 hours.
I'm not going to deny myself or ask for any less of Stranger Things. So I, appreciate the times where it did maybe drag out a little bit, because then I could actually eat my popcorn and feel like I could chew and not have to focus fully.
So maybe on another video, we'll rank the seasons.
Okay.
From our favorite to our least favorite, 1 through 4.
Okay.
But I think that season 4 was pretty good.
Wait, we can't end this without really quickly talking about one of my favorite all-time characters that happened to be in
Murray.
Murray's good.
Yeah. Murray's
great, actually. And he foresaw, he's the one that said, what's the worst can happen, because they were going to leave the kids home while they went to Russia. Right. He's telling to Joyce, like, what's the worst can happen. Right. So he kind of jinxed it all. But I have to talk about one of my all-time favorite characters. And I'm so sad because I was so mad at the end when Eddie Munson said, he said, "Look after the little sheep for me."
He was dying when they were in the field, and he looks over at Dustin and he says, "Dustin, never change.
Never change.
Do me a favor." At that moment, I thought to myself, well, he's dying.
Well, no, I thought the opposite. I was like, wait, it's too obvious now,
Well, it wasn't. He died.
He's really...
Spoiler.
He said, "Good, I'm going to graduate. I think it's my year, Henderson. I think it's finally my year. I love you, man." I cried so hard because I was so sad. He is one of the best characters in Stranger Things, I think, that I didn't know I needed. And the relationship he had with Dustin was awesome. And what I loved even more was the fact that Steve was kind of jealous. It was like this trio happening where, Eddie was the new kind of older best friend to Dustin and spending a lot of time and going to this Hellfire Club. And you could see a little bit of jealousy from Steve, even though he didn't want to admit it.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. All right. Well, there you go. Recap of season 4. Next video we'll do on Stranger Things will probably be ranking our favorite seasons 1 through 4.
All right.
See you on the next one.
Bye, everybody.